Excited to talk to you today and learn a little bit more about MoreMarkets and what you guys are kind of working on. To kick it off, maybe tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background, how you got into the Web3 space. And again, everyone's got an interesting story. So curious, what kind of piqued your interest?
Yeah, I'm Altan, one of the founders of MoreMarkets. Before this, I was at Near Protocol. I worked there for 2 years. Originally from Turkey, so I grew up in Turkey. I was there up until I was 14, actually 18. And then studied here in the US, did computer science and mathematics, was pretty interested in simulation, like virtual reality. How do you build worlds that are like synthetic in nature, that people enjoy being in? That led me to research. I did research in avatars. That was pretty fun. Like I put people into avatars, I designed avatars. And one of the things I looked into was, do people get affected by avatars? Like does the presence of a person increase in a virtual environment by having an avatar? That was pretty fun. That led me to my master's. I did my master's in the UK. That was AI. So that was 2020. I did robotics and deep learning. And that was still find myself in simulation, right? Even though it's real world, I found myself how to train robots in what's called Unity. It's a gaming environment. And that led me to crypto. I was like, if there's going to be, everything's going to be simulation, there needs to be digital money. And found myself really going deeper into smart contracts on Ethereum. That was 2021, and started looking into alternatives to Ethereum. So I didn't like EVM back then, and I understand why now getting into the space, why EVM became so important. But at the time, I looked into Near and Solana. Near had a very interesting sort of model, and Solana had interesting models. I loved building on Near and decided to join. And then we started MoreMarkets last year, June. We had a seed round that was 13 million, led by Electric Capital. Pretty interested in now, like how you can generate yield for what I call idle assets. So that starts with like obviously Bitcoin, but goes down into XRP, XLM, even Near, right? Like if you look at Near DeFi, it's not really idle. And for that, we have obviously built our own sort of synthetic message passing minting protocol in the background. And the front end, we have a very sort of sleek app that almost looks like an exchange that you can come in, deposit. The first asset is going to be XRP, but we'll do stable coins, Bitcoin, whatever that is kind of just viable for us. And then the whole premise is that as soon as we can build out everything on chain, like you can see what lending markets you're earning from, and that's pretty much the TLDR version from myself to MoreMarkets.
Nice, man. Tell us a bit more about MoreMarkets. I'm sure people are going to be very curious how you can utilize it, how you can tap in to earn as well. Like, what are some of the benefits for users that might want to take advantage of some of those features?
Yeah. So when I say idle assets, so like Bitcoin, XRP, all these large assets don't have smart contracts. And I think people try to address them in different ways. Like people try to build L2s on Bitcoin. XRP is now building a side chain on XRPL with Ledger. There's an EVM chain that you can bridge. So that experience is great, but like bridging, personally, I don't like it. And a lot of people that come into crypto are just not going to do it. Yeah, it's annoying to be able to like, I'm going to wait for the funds. So we really want to abstract that. So that came with that understanding in the problem statement. The other is obviously there are demand centers in crypto. Like you look at Ethereum, you look at Solana. All these markets are very liquid, but even XRP Ledger introduces smart contracts, and like at the end of the year, they're not going to be as liquid as Ethereum. They're not going to be as liquid as Solana. They're not going to be as liquid as Base, right? So the idea is to bring these assets as synthetic in the background, and then essentially build lending markets or use lending markets that exist. So like on Ethereum, for example, today we're using term finance that allows us to get a fixed rate loan on XRP. It's 50% LTV. Let's say we have access to some sort of a stable coin, currently using Ripple stablecoin at a 4% borrow rate. And then I can just from there, we can manage it to, get like 10 to 15% that a lot of XRP holders don't have access to. So like opening that access to the XRP users to start with, but this could be Bitcoin, this could be Near, this could be any asset. So starting with that in a small size and testing it out, but eventually scaling that up to 100 millions, let's say on TVL.
Excellent. Where do you think this side of the market is going in terms of yield generation and APYs and staking in the space? It's evolved quite a bit ever since POS came out for the first time. Now you see a lot of institutional demand, banks, different payment processors, everything from PayPal to Bank of America to JP Morgan Chase. Like there's all these different like use cases around trying to find ways to stake and generate yield. And it's a very fascinating part of the space that's kind of taken over the theme of the summer and in the spring. Curious, kind of understanding that side of the space and doing some of this with more markets. Like where do you see this kind of going in the near future?
Yeah, so that era of like, and if you look at talk to retail, I was at XRP Las Vegas, and people were almost entertained and like kind of they were marketed this idea of like 150, 200% APYs in like 2021, 2020. That is gone, right? Like that is just basically token emissions. Now what we see is there used to be a public market and a private market, like how you can access the yield. There are a lot of projects that are opening up the private markets to the public, like retail investors, right? Like this came with obviously equity/token investment, right? Like you have a bunch of platforms that come in and say, hey, I'm going to give access to the venture deals. I'm seeing more and more of like private deals where maybe more juicier, right? Like you go in and you have a big capital allocator and then you get, let's say, 20% on your stables. I'm seeing a lot more now is like not a middleman, but like coming in, building a platform in between and say, hey, I'm going to get these like large sums of capital from retail. I'm going to open this up to a protocol that can just like deal with me at a 20%. I'm still like on the protocol space, still a whale, but I'm coming with assets. So I'm seeing that a lot more, like transition of collapse of the public and private markets. And I think as more institutions come in and as more like the space grows, that is going to like eventually is going to like just crash to each other and become one. I'm excited for that. What else I'm seeing? There's a lot of like idle assets protocols too, like Bitcoin now. Like if you walk in the main hall, there's a lot of earn on Bitcoin. I was at BTC Las Vegas. There's a lot of going on in like earning. Yeah. So that's going to be the trend. Just because that people are holding these assets and that's a problem that people are facing. And the more transparent, the more self-custodial you can have, the better people will invest in them. So that's how I see like to sum it up, private and public market collapsing and becoming one, and a lot of people looking into yield on these assets. And the other thing, actually, that you mentioned, proof of stake, Near. So I used to bet Near. Near just proposed to decrease inflation from 5 to 2.5. And I think there's a lot of POS networks that are overpaying for the security. So these networks will reduce inflation, which again becomes like, I want to earn on this. How do I earn more? And then you get like on-chain, off-chain sources to kind of earn a little bit more on these assets. So that's how I see it.
Excellent. And you mentioned Bitcoin too. I've spoken to a few different Bitcoin projects here as well as plenty in the past. And, BitcoinFi is very fascinating. The idea of building DeFi within or on top of Bitcoin is something I didn't expect to happen at any point in time, but it has happened, and it's quite popular. It's quite big. I'm curious if that's of interest to you guys with MoreMarkets as well. Like, do you want to offer any kind of coins that might kind of stem out of Bitcoin's new DeFi ecosystem? Yeah,
definitely. Bitcoin is one of the biggest assets, sort of in the world. Like if you top, it's still a top 10 asset. The interesting part about Bitcoin versus like ETH and Solana, and makes it a bit more challenging, is the culture around Bitcoin, right? Like Bitcoins are very valuable to the community. Like in BTC Las Vegas, people are somehow like okay to take, let's say, some risk off chain. Like people are okay. They know this lender for like the 5 years. They're like, okay, well, I know what I'm taking. But there's belief, like, let's say some people are like, well, apart from Bitcoin, there's no real blockchain, so I'm not going to put my money into ETH. Like I've heard that before. So that's the main challenge, but excited about like that will change eventually, right? Like there's a lot of, if you can build a blockchain that's backed by Bitcoin security, that can change it. So people are still people are still scared of smart contract risk on Bitcoin too. So that the culture, like it will come, but it'll take years and years to build the culture and people to kind of press and say, hey, like this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. A lot of education, but this time around, I've seen more and more people interested in like putting their Bitcoins on smart contracts, which is great. Like that's what we want.
And what brings you to Permissionless? Do you have a goal in mind while you're here? Are you just kind of spreading the word and building awareness for more markets? Are you looking for partners? Are you looking for VCs and different forms of capital flow? Everyone's kind of got a different point of interest. Curious what brings you guys here.
Yeah, first New York. New York has been the center of crypto in the United States. And the other one is like if you're in the city now, you can find a lot of so we face, obviously we have retail app that people can come in, eventually deposit. That's in waitlist now. We'll launch it in like 1 to 2 weeks. But the other side of our business is like going through let's say a large prime brokerage and say, hey, I want to be able to offer you like this much yield. Do you have any customers that can put money, right? So that is pretty big here. Like that's one of the reasons why I came early, met some people, trying to get some like sort of people to understand our product and be able to sell the product without us being there. That's pretty powerful. Second, there's a lot of founder friends that you end up walking at any Blockworks conference and any New York conference. Nice to see people. Nice to like understand what people are going through. Right, like it's the founder journey is not that easy as people kind of make it up. Right, so it's nice to see that like what people are working towards, what are the trends that are coming up. It's nice to see like stablecoins. Everybody knows stablecoins are hot, but like what's the next thing after stablecoins? So yeah, it's quite like it's a nice trip and nice to get things done in New York.
Absolutely. Where can people go to learn more about MoreMarkets if they want to check it out? Do you guys have websites, socials? Do you have a community? Where would you send people?
Yeah, so I post personally a lot on Twitter. We have a Twitter account called MoreMarkets XYZ, and we have a website. I mean, you can find a Discord there and all that stuff. It's community side. We have a website called MoreMarkets.xyz. You can just go there and join the waitlist. We had a lot of people join the waitlist. Obviously, just like everything in crypto, you have to clean them. We had like 30,000 people join in when we did the first announcement. And then that explains everything. It has the blog. It has the docs, how we do things. So definitely check those out and join the community and join the waitlist.
Excellent. Want to do a quick little rapid fire session here? I'll ask you a couple of quick questions. Give me a couple of quick answers. The first one is, who is your favorite Web3 personality at the moment?
I really like Haseeb. Haseeb has been, he's not my investor, but he's one of the few people that, even though he was not an investor, just gave me great, like just honest advice. And I think it's pretty hard to find those people, like, because people are always like, oh, well, you're great, blah, 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 but they don't tell you what you do wrong. And I tend to appreciate people that like can change my perspective. So that would be Haseeb for sure.
What is your favorite Web3 project, startup company, aside from you guys at MoreMarkets?
Interesting. I don't want to give Hyperliquid just because I'm biased. I've been seeing a lot of like equity stuff, like Superstate is pretty interesting. I personally do not have I've never bought stocks. I always started with crypto. So it's been amazing for me to be able to buy stocks on chain, and I'm pretty excited for that.
A lot of people are wondering if there's going to be an alt season in this 4-year cycle. Curious if you think that that's kind of on the table still in 2025, or if we've kind of passed that thresh mark, or where do you kind of think we are in the market right now?
Yeah, the problem currently is like structurally the market is different from 2021, 2022. In general, people expect that because people saw that large like 70%, 80% increases. And the reason for that was like, you had zero interest rates, and it wasn't a structurally crypto thing. It was a macro thing that like, we print a bunch of money, and where does the money go? Like the risky assets. I personally don't see that in 2025, but I'm still bullish on everything. So like I'll let that happen. But whenever there's a risk off environment, there's a war going in the Middle East. Although there's updates on that, like the more risk off people get, the more people get interested in crypto. So, but I would also say that markets structurally changed in a sense that Bitcoin is way different than now the alts, and you can see that right this year. So I think that'll continue for this year at least.
And then last question, what do you think the theme is for this summer? Is it stable coins? Is it decentralized AI, or is it something else? What do you seeing in your opinion?
I think it's definitely stable coins. There's so many I don't think you can run away from that. The main reason is like, even if you talk to people outside of crypto, they talk about stablecoins. So after this, I think there's going to be a lot of like RWA opportunities. Let's say, like, how do you get access to, let's say, gold markets on outside of crypto? How to get commodities? Like, if you can gather a large sum of money, can you buy an oil contract? Like, there's a lot of things you can build. It's just like a capital formation. But the good thing about crypto is like it's pretty fast to formalize capital compared to traditional markets. So that's what I see. Like after the stablecoin mania, I think there will be a lot of opportunities to do earn yield on RWAs.
Awesome, man. And then where can people go to find you as well on X or LinkedIn, or how can they connect with you?
Yeah, my ex is Mr. Altan Tutar, so it's pretty simple. LinkedIn is like I use it sometimes. I force myself to use it these days because all the TradFi stuff is coming up. So those two are fine. The main thing, the main is like DMs are open on Twitter. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Altan, really appreciate the time. Really good conversation. Love what you guys are doing with MoreMarkets. Keep me up to date. Would love to continue to see your progress over the course of the year. And maybe we can set up another interview in person at some point and do a part 2 when you have some more updates. So keep me posted on everything that's going on.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for this nice combo.